Short Story Tuesday at Telltale Books. This time I'm going to talk about my all-time favorite author, H.G. Wells, and his The Man Who Could Work Miracles. This short story was published in 1898, and the basic plot is a man, I believe his name is Featheringay. He is in a pub talking to the rest of the patrons, stating his belief that there's no such thing as miracles, that they don't happen, that it's just foolishness to think that there are any such thing as miracles. And to prove his point, he says, I'm going to make that lamp rise up 2 feet off the table. And he says, lamp, rise 2 feet above the table. And of course, the lamp rises and is suspended in air, which shocks him. Everybody else thinks he's just playing some kind of magic trick on them, making a joke. He knows that it was real. And he quickly learns with this new power. He goes and tries to make other miracles happen, and he quickly learns that the way he phrases things could cause big problems. The very first one that happens is he tells an object that he had moved to go back or something like that, and the way he stated it, the object then rockets off and hits a policeman. And so he gets in trouble for that. And later on, his inability to really think carefully about how he phrases things causes some really big trouble. Now I have this story in a number of different books. Probably the best one is the complete short stories of H.G. Wells, which at the time of publication was complete, but since that was published, they found another one. And it was published in, I believe, Argosy a few years ago. That's the only place it's been published. I've been meaning to order that issue, but I haven't yet. But it's in there. It's in 28 Science Fiction Stories, the old Dover edition that was published in 1952. I've got a copy of that also, and in many other collections. It's like most of H.G. Wells' science fiction short stories. It's been collected and anthologized numerous times over the years. It's not a science fiction story, it's a fantasy story. And it's a specific type of fantasy story that would become very popular in a magazine called Unknown, edited by John W. Campbell in the 1940s. And that style of story is where you have common guy in the present day, modern world, modern city, and something strange happens. Something, they stumble upon some kind of magical power, or they stumble upon some kind of fantastical creature that's straight out of fairy tales, gnomes or fairies or leprechauns or whatever. Some of the best writers in Unknown that did that sort of thing are H.L. Gold. He wrote a great story called Trouble with Water. Fritz Leiber was in there. Robert Bloch wrote some of that sort of thing. And Theodore Sturgeon, who I'm going to, for my new Saturday video series, I'm going to talk about Ether Breather and the sequel Butyl in the Breather, which actually were published in Astounding. But Sturgeon also wrote that kind of comedic science fiction fantasy story that, to the best of my knowledge, H.G. Wells was the first one to do that sort of thing. I don't know of anybody before Wells that wrote that sort of like urban fantasy comedy. Before Man Who Could Work Miracles, Wells had written others. I think the earliest one was his novel, The Wonderful Visit, where a guy sees an angel fall to earth and takes him home and fixes him up and disguises him so he could walk around without everybody freaking out. And that resulted in a lot of comedic situations in that book. So, and Wells was actually really good at this. You think of Wells for The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds, very serious, even horrifying, terrifying books. But he actually had a great sense of humor, and it's exhibited in stories like The Man Who Could Work Miracles. Wells also usually puts some kind of philosophy into his stories, and in this one I think it's maybe a little lighter weight than most of what he did. This one I think it's more about the dangers of wishing for more than you have in life, and how you can, if you don't accept what you've got, that trying to make it better, you could really mess things up. Not really high philosophy like Wells usually did, not at all political or anything like he often did, but still a good point to make, that sometimes you got to accept what you have and be happy with it. So this is definitely a top tale. Definitely recommended. Easy to find. I'm sure you can find this. I know it's public domain. You should be able to find it on Project Gutenberg. You should be able to find it on Kindle. You can find it in any number of books, collections of short stories by Wells and other anthologies. It's around and it's out there. And it was even made into a movie. Wells himself wrote the screenplay for the movie The Man Who Could Work Miracles, which was released 36 or 37, about the same time as Things to Come. And it's a very good movie, but it expands upon the story. And Wells then took the screenplay and wrote it into a book, more of a novella than a novel, but he published that as a book based on the movie in the late 1930s. I've got a copy of that around somewhere. So it's a very good one to track down and read. Worth your time. And with that, join us again. Come back for Short Story Tuesdays. See our videos on Friday. I'm going to put up Ether Breather and Butyl in the Breather on Saturday. So I'm doing Saturday morning videos now. Like us, subscribe to us, comment. I want to know what you think, especially if you know of an author before Wells that wrote comedic fantasy. I want to know about it, because I don't know about it. And follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Check out our website. I've got H.G. Wells' complete bibliography on our website. And I'm always adding more works by more authors constantly, so check that out. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.